Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cleveland Browns franchise. Today we begin the first part of the offseason with the re-signing and free agency period. So as you know, we are going to first take a look at the Super Bowl news. And rolling down the list, the Titans and 49ers are in the Super Bowl. Jim Tomsula in his first year as a head coach is going to be coaching in the Super Bowl. And now let's go take a look at the draft stories. Dayon McGee is the College All-Star Game MVP, and right end Llewellyn Francois had a huge impact at the All-Star Game. That's good to know. We could use a right end. So, let's go take a look at our defensive depth chart. And looking at it, we need a right... Well, John Hughes will be a free agent if we do not re-sign him. So, let's take a look at the available positions. Let's take a look at right ends first. Francois is a first-round prospect out of Florida. So, scrolling down the list, we're going to take a look at Duncan Johnson out of Georgia, a late 5th rounder who seems like a great prospect, 6'7", 309 pounds, so a big guy. Defensive tackles, we need some big guys in the middle. We might sign one person in free agency and then grab a couple in the draft. Let's look at Treylon Love. C+ hit power isn't that good for a D tackle. Middle linebackers, we can always look for linebackers. Marquise Hopkins, he seems like an okay prospect, but we're not going to keep our eye on him. Andre Lawson, that's a big drop off from B to C+, but he seems like a great prospect at number 12 on the list. Let's look at cornerbacks. I'm now leaning more towards Deshaun Ramsey than Quentin Orr. Scrolling down the list, Dosha Jordan made the list. Scrolling down, Luis Park, C+ zone isn't that good. Deontay Cole, C+ still. Andrew Hill, C- man, and C zone is even worse than those two. B press and C+ zone coverage, that pretty much threw us off because we need good zone cover corners. We play a lot of zone coverage schemes. Free safeties, let's take a look at... we already looked at CJ Benjamin. Let's look at Nick Jeffrey, C+ pursuit, threw it off. Alton Bass, C zone. Peniel Brandon seems interesting. Peniel Brandon, keep your eye on that name. He might be good. We might end up picking him even though he still has C+ zone, but B- catching is still pretty good. Josh Silva at A-, but I think we're going to get Max McKay in this. So, let's advance to the next stage of the offseason. Let's go ahead and re-sign players. And we will check out the Super Bowl champion after we do our re-signings. And looking at it, let's go do some re-signing. We have 20 players ready to re-sign. And first up is Tashawn Gibson, 94 overall, free safety, 26 years old. Jackie Battle, Phil Taylor, Gary Barnett, Hughes, Smith, Jonathan Dwyer, Hausler, Painter, Little, and those are just some of the impending free agents. First, let's take a look at what Tashawn Gibson wants. He wants over $7 million a year. I like Tashawn Gibson. I don't like Tashawn Gibson that much. So, we're going to give him 4 years at a $2 million bonus and a $5.3 million a year salary, and let's see what he says. And it appears that Tashawn Gibson will be a Brown for the next 4 years. And yes, he has accepted his contract. Let's go look at our next player. Jackie Battle had a Pro Bowl year. I was initially not planning on bringing him back, but after that season, I think that we should bring him back. Let's look at Jackie Battle. I don't want him back for 2 more years. I'm going to look at a 1-year, low guarantees, $150,000 in guarantees at $1.8 million a year, and let's see what he thinks about it. He's a great fullback to have on our roster, an important piece in our offense, and it appears that Jackie Battle has accepted as well his 1-year contract offer. So let's go down the list and work on the next guy. Phil Taylor, defensive tackle, 28, from Baylor is up next. So let's take a look at his contract. He wants 3 years, $9 million. I'm willing to give him a 1-year contract with a $400 40, 30, 20, 10. No, we're going to put it back in the 300s. Nope, down the 200s. We are really skimping him out. He's an 83 overall. He played decent. $200,000 bonus. And we're going to put his salary at $3 million a year. You know, I'm willing to keep him around for 1 year, but if he doesn't accept, no big deal. We can find more defensive tackles later. And he's not interested. That's okay. I wasn't that interested in him anyway. Gary Barnidge is up next. So he wants 4 years, $7 million. He is 30 years old, though. I'm willing to give him 2 years at $1.5 million a year and a $450,000 bonus. But let's up his salary a bit. He's done well, to $2.5 million a year. No, let's move it back down. No, we're going to put it back down in the ones. 1.4, and let's up his bonus a bit. Let's see what he thinks about a 2-year contract. And Gary Barnidge appears to have accepted his contract as well. And Gary Barnidge will be a Brown for the next 2 years. So let's go take a look at the next player on the list. John Hughes, right end from Cincinnati, great run stopper. He can get in the backfield. He wants over $3 million a year. I don't want him for that long. I want him for 2 years at a $200,000 bonus. And let's up his salary a bit. He's definitely earned it, at $2.5 million a year. Let's see what he thinks of it. And John Hughes is not interested in returning to Cleveland. And good luck in your future endeavors. I'm not interested in keeping Alex Smith. Looking down, Jonathan Dwyer, I'm not interested in. Hausler, I like him. Let's see what he wants. And he wants a 1-year, $1 million contract. Let's not give him a bonus. And let's up his contract to 1.2. No, let's put his bonus at 10K because they like that bonus. And Rob Hausler is not interested. So we'll see what happens with him. And now let's go take a look at the next person, Vincent Painter, left guard out of Virginia Tech. He's 26. He wants 3 years and $2 million, so not asking for a whole lot. And let's move his bonus down to 0, and let's up his salary a bit. $2.55 million at 3 years. Let's see what he thinks. And Vincent Painter appears to have accepted his contract, the left guard. And Vincent Painter has accepted his contract. So let's go take a look at the next guy on the list. And that will be Greg Little. I'm not interested in Greg Little. Don't want him back. Now let's go take a look at Thad Lewis, quarterback out of Duke. He wants $1.68 million over 1 year. Let's turn the bonus down. And let's up his contract a bit to $2 million for 1 year. Now let's go take a look at the next player on the list. Nope, let's go check. Oh yeah, whoops, I forgot to check out Thad Lewis's contract. Scrolling down, Thad Lewis will remain a Brown. So up next is Mitchell Schwartz, right tackle from California. Right tackle is a position we need help at. And he wants 4 years, $7.65 million. I don't want to keep him around for 4 years. I'll give him a 1 year, no bonus contract at a 1 year, $1 million contract. I don't expect him to accept this. But I feel like Mitchell Schwartz is asking for more than he's worth. And as expected, he will decline. Billy Wynn is up next. He wants over $1 million a year. I don't think he saw much time at all. So we're going to not have a bonus on there. And we're going to put him at 1 year for $950,000. I don't think he'll accept. I don't think he'll like our offer. No bonus plus a low salary is not something good. And I'm going to enter negotiations with this Mally Kitchen. He's not asking for much at all for a bench player. He's a good run stopper off the bench. We'll give him 2 years and a $1 million contract. So $500,000 a year. And it appears that he has accepted as well. Ishmaeli Kitchen giving us a hometown discount. That's always nice to see that our players have some loyalty to us and willing to take a pay cut to stay. So now up next is Johnson Batamosi, strong safety from Stanford. He wants a $1 million one contract. And no, I don't want to offer him the whole stadium. No, I don't want to offer him a stake in the stadium here. And Let's take a look. The minimum we can offer him is 750. Why does it keep doing that? I don't know. It was started glitching out around here. I'm not sure what happened. So looking at it at $1.05 million, no bonus because we can't guarantee he'll make the roster. Even if he doesn't, he'll probably still be a free agent after the draft and I can pick him up. And he is not interested in this contract. Travis Benjamin is up next. He wants 1 year, $720,000. I'll give him 1 year for $750,000. Let's see what he thinks. And Travis Benjamin is not interested. Up next is Ryan Seymour, left tackle from Vanderbilt, same school as Kerry Spear. He's a 68 overall, and he wants a small short-term contract. I'm willing to give him 1 year, $1 million contract with a $10,000 bonus. So scrolling down, and it appears that he has accepted his contract as well as a smaller contract, and it's nice to see him accept that. Looking down the list, and Ryan Seymour has accepted. So up next we have the player, and as we go down the list of people we haven't signed, we declined. Scott Solomon out of Rice is next. He's 27, 67 overall. I'll give him 1 year with no bonus for $750,000. Let's see what he thinks. And Scott Solomon's not interested. I expected that. Jeremy Trueblood is next, the veteran right tackle. He's getting up there in age. I'll give him a $10,000 bonus. Don't want to give him too much because probably won't be around for much longer. Scrolling down, and it appears that he has accepted. So let's go take a look. And Jeremy Trueblood will be a Brown for 1 more year. So let's go take a look. And Kerry Spears, the final player. Not interested in him. Max McKay is the kicker of the future, and I'm going to get him. So that's about it. Looking if there's anyone we want to franchise, there's really no one here that's that important that would require a franchise tag. So let's go take a look at the Super Bowl 50 champ. So as we scroll down, first let's check out the list of players who accepted and rejected. Hauser rejected his contract. Lewis accepted. Vincent Painter accepted. Mitchell Schwartz rejected it. Willie Wynn rejected it. Batamosi rejected it. Ketchin accepted. Benjamin rejected it. Seymour accepted. Trueblood accepted. So let's go take a look, and it looks like the San Francisco 49ers have won the Super Bowl based on that headline. And as you can see, Peyton Manning has decided to retire. And yep, Peyton Manning has retired from the NFL. So let's take a look at the results of the Super Bowl. Let's look at the league schedule. And the San Francisco 49ers and Titans were playing. And the 49ers 24, Tennessee 10. And the 49ers and Jim Tom Sula win the Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick was 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mariota with 132. Looking at rushing, Bishop Sankey, 22 carries, 80 yards. Carlos Hyde with 15 for 63. Davis with 12 for 49. Doran Dickerson making the list as well. Torrey Smith with 3 catches for 51. Kendall Wright with 4 for 43. Stevens with 2 for 23. Walker with 3 for 20. Davis with 1 for 17. Blocking, Chance Warmack with the only pancake on the day. Tackles, Bethea with 13. Woodyard. And I'm going to go through these kind of fast. If there's anything you're really excited to see, just stop the video. 2 sacks for Gooden, 1.5 for Alden Smith, 1 for Casey, half for Dial. Interception, no interceptions thrown on the day, so obviously both quarterbacks were playing very well. And that's going to do it for all the games as the 49ers win the Super Bowl 24-10. And let's go take a look. And as you can see, we see all these re-signings. Let's take a look at all the retired. Matt McBride retires. Eric Pierce retires. Anquan Bolden retires. Bill Dawson retires. Myers retires. Peyton Manning retires. Sean Hill retires. Shane Graham retires. D'Angelo Williams retires. Ben Watson retires. Luke McCown retires. Kedrick Golston. Will Welker retires. Schaub retires. Steve Smith Sr. retires. Woodson retires. Janikowski retires. Kotchery retires. Leckler retires. Jared Allen retires. Roddy White retires. Hasselbeck and Vinatieri retire. Robert Mathis retires. Evan Mathis retires. Steven Jackson retires. Palmer retires. And Josh McCown retired. We will be finding a new quarterback this season. TJ Mosley retired. Jason Babin retired. Calvin Pace retired. Rashan Memphis retired. Will Allen retired. James Harrison retired. Mike Adams retired. Mike Leach retired. Brett Kiesel retired. Santana Moss retired. Carlos Rogers retired. Michael Vick retired. Reggie Wayne retired. Dwight Freeney retired. John Abraham retired. Jay Feely retired. Michael Bush retired. Ben Hartsock retired. Nate Burleson retired. Will Smith retired. Sav Rocca retired. Michael Huff retired. And Tom Coughlin also retired. So, that's it for the retirements. And now let's advance to the next stage. Let's start signing some free agents. Here we are. Let's start signing some of those free agents. And as you can see, our team is pretty cut down, especially at wide receiver and tight end. So let's look at the list. And we only have 2 quarterbacks. I want to get 1 or 2 more. Looking at defense, our line is absolutely decimated. We'll need more players there. And I'm going to put Ryan Seymour up there. He's better than Jeremy Trueblood at this point. Trueblood will be there, but... And Andy Lee is at kicker right now. We're going to be finding a new kicker, which will probably be Max McKay. But this line has been cut down, and we're going to be finding plenty of defensive linemen. Tress Way, 95 overall punter, but we don't need a punter. And looking at right tackles, nobody really standing out. Eben Britton, really... Nobody great there. I don't want to give him a 4-year contract. Ladarian Waddle there. He's asking for a big contract. But I don't think that he's worth it. Evan Britton, let's take a look. And 78 impact blocking is just going to steer me away from him. 70 pass blocking is not that good. 82 run blocking is okay, but not exactly a great right tackle. Donald Stevenson, 78 impact block, 77 pass block, 85 run block. Not that great. Tom Compton, 82 impact block, but only 70 pass block. And we don't have any negotiations yet. I still need to find a right tackle. That's going to be one of our big parts of concern. That's the only part on our offensive line that's not solidified. I was about to make Evan Britton an offer, but I decided not to. Ladarian Waddle had too many people bidding on him. Donald Stevenson wanted a gigantic contract. I looked at him one more time, but he really didn't seem worth it. Donald Stevenson just didn't seem that good. And we are actually going to offer him a contract here. I'm going to put in some money to get a decent right tackle, but I don't want him to get a big bonus. Let's put him a $4 million or a $3 million bonus and $16.5 million. So we have one negotiation, and that's Donald Stevenson. So let's go take a look at other parts of our team. We have a right tackle. We need to find tight ends and wide receivers. We also need to find line help as well as a couple linebackers. Those would be nice too. So let's go ahead and sign some free agents. So looking at defensive tackle Haloti Ngata, and no one was bidding on Brandon Mebane. I kind of liked him. He wanted a 1-year contract. I was willing to give that to him. So we're going to give him a 3-point. We're going to give him exactly what he wants. And we're going to up that 0. No, we're going to put it at 900K. So we'll give him a little more than he's asking for and see how he likes it. Brandon Mebane. We were the only team bidding on him. And now looking at all Donald Stevenson there, we're still the only team bidding on him. So let's go take a look at some other positions like a left end. Cam Hayward, a 90 overall. He's a 86. Chandler Jones leading the way. And Mike DeVito here seemed very interesting. Mike DeVito wanted a long-term contract, but he is kind of getting up there in age. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to give that to him. Left end, I looked at William Hayes. Jeremiah Ratliff was an option. Cedric Thornton was an option. Robert Ayers looked interesting, but I ended up passing. Rolando McClain at middle linebacker would be nice. I could move him to outside linebacker and make him a beast. But the thing is, Mingo is good. I like him, but he's too small to make plays. Like, you can run through Mingo. He's not that great physically. He's good, but he just doesn't have the physical gifts to keep up with an NFL game. So I'm going to offer middle linebacker Danny Trevathan a contract. He seemed like a player I wanted, especially with Carlos Dansby getting up there in age. Now, I want Danny Trevathan to be our middle linebacker of the future. He is 26, so he still has a few good years in him. So right now we have Stevenson, Trevathan, and Mebane as our 3 negotiations right now in stage 1. So now let's go take a look back at our depth chart, back to defense. And now we're going to take a look at... Now as we go down the line, now let's go sign some more free agents. Let's go take a look and bid on some more of them. Let's look at right end. I wanted to find another right end. Mike DeVito. I'm decided to make an offer to Mike DeVito. We're going to give him a 1-year deal. He's too old. And we're going to give him a $1 million bonus. And for 1 year, we will give him a $3 million contract. It's way less than what he's asking for, but it'll have to do because I don't want a long-term deal with a 28-year-old player. Next up that we had to address, we had help at fullback, but I felt like we had, and now we are in part 2 of the offseason. We are in stage 2, and as you can see, Danny Trevathan and Brandon Mebane are the newest Browns. So welcome to the team, 2 defensive players, Danny Trevathan and Mebane. We needed Mebane. Trevathan was more of a luxury signing, but we still need to find some quality ends outside of Desmond Bryant and Randy Starks. And Starks is getting up there in age. We need to find someone who can play out there. We have plenty of middle linebackers. And as you can see, Brandon Mebane, 86 overall, 88 confidence, so we won't have to work on his confidence for a while. So let's go take a look at some other players. First, let's take a look at the news. And Brandon Mebane signed with a 1-year deal. And Danny Trevathan is a 3-year deal. That's in the news too. Let's take a look at the drafts. And Austin McKay will have to get surgery. And Michael Hill was one of the slower linebackers. We need to keep track of this. Deone McGee also won MVP. We saw that last week. And Deone McGee out of Indiana seems like an interesting player at running back. I really don't like Terrence West that much. He just doesn't seem like he has the mentality to be an NFL running back. And I'm interested in finding a replacement for him. So, as you can see, we're still the only bidders for Mike DeVito and Donald Stevenson. Mike DeVito's 32. I did not want to give him a 4-year contract until he was 36. That just didn't seem right. So now let's go take a look at some quarterbacks. There was really no one who stuck out here. I didn't want to Scott Tolson. Sam Bradford, Drew Stanton was there. I like Drew Stanton. He played for my favorite team, but we're not going to bring him in and expect him to change the offense. But I did need some quality backup depth, and Chad Henne here seemed interesting. He wasn't asking for that much, and I decided not to give him a bonus, but we were willing to give him some money. We were going to give him a $1.4 million deal. No bonus, though, and he seemed to like our offer a bit. So, as you can see, Tressway still doesn't have an offer on him. Apparently, a lot of teams don't need one of the best player, who's the punter. Mike Tolbert, I was looking to get a power back on the roster, and I would have liked to get him, but he would be more of a luxury. I looked at him, and as you can see, he has 85 trucking, 83 strength. Seemed like a good player. 76 speed, though, so he'd be good down on the goal line. I could move him to running back, but I didn't want to have him for the next 3 years. So we were going to mull over it, and eventually we gave him a contract. I decided to cut his bonus down a little. Let's give him $250,000, a 2-year deal, and we give him a total of $3 million over 2 years. So now we have 4 bids, and now it's time to go check out the rest of it. No, we're going to go do some scouting. Let's go do some scouting. Combine results are now available. We know what combine results are. They're right there. And as you can see, Brendan Thomas did pretty good. Let's look at our watch list. And looking at it, Quentin Orr with a 7.9 combine grade. That's pretty good. 7.1 for Deshaun Ramsey. Brennan Thomas made the list. Riley Tarpley, McNeil, McCoy made the list. McNeil had a decent combine, but didn't do anything great. Tomas McCoy, the center, had a decent combine. Scrolling down the list, I liked Nick Crosby was there. Wendell Jackson, the Virginia guy, was there. Max McKay, obviously he's going to have a terrible combine since he really doesn't do much. Nick Crosby seemed interesting. I decided to take a look at his combine. And now I was going to go take a look at some of the other available players. I wanted to take a look at some wide receivers. We needed some WR depth. Because past our first three, it's really not that exciting. So let's take a look. We're going to look at Wayman Gordon, wide receiver. And he seemed like an interesting prospect in the 5th round. Next, we take a look at Corbin. No, we're not going to take a look at Corbin Curse just yet. And looking at it next, Zach Phillip out of Lehigh. Jabri Murphy out of Louisville. Derek Mosley seemed interesting out of UAB. Wayman Gordon and Derek Mosley were two big guys at that point, but he's graded out as a 6th round prospect, not sure why. Wayman Gordon seemed like an interesting prospect from UL Monroe. And going down the list, we need to find some wide receiver depth. And Corbin Curse seemed interesting out of Alabama. He seemed like a good player that we should keep our eyes on. Tight ends, and we look down the list, and Dylan Mathis in the 7th round. I really liked him. He's the player I probably want to get in the 7th round. But there really weren't a lot of tight ends that excited me. Outside of Tomas McCoy, we looked at Noah Shepard, and it kept saying that you have already unlocked this collection. I'm not sure what that meant. I tried again, and I had no idea what you have already unlocked this collection meant. So finally, I just quit on trying to get him. I looked at Philip McRae, Luke Cole, and he seemed like an interesting prospect there in the 6th round out of Kentucky. I kept my eye on him. Scrolling down the list, Michael Rivera there. Right tackles, there still wasn't anyone that really impressed me. I need a right tackle. DeAndre Lauderdale was there. He seemed like an interesting prospect out of Hawaii. Clifton Blue was there. Looking at defensive tackles, I looked at Tolliver. He was a B-. He was a 1st round prospect. I kept my eye on him. And now scrolling down the list, looking at Kyrie Ross. And there were a few D tackles who excited me. Andrew Jeter was there. He seemed like an interesting prospect out of Texas A&M. And that was pretty much all the scouting I could do for this stage, because I only have 8 scouting points left. So let's go take a look at not the player stats, but the transactions after what? Demetrius Turner is the head coach of the Jaguars, by the way. Signed. We're going to go down this list fairly quickly. As you can see, Brandon Meadman, Darryl Stuckey goes to the Steelers. Malcolm Bronson to the Haloti Ngata goes to the Bengals. Going down the list, Danny Trevathan made the list. The Colts signed John Fox. The Bears signed Tony Luff. Texans, and a lot of head coaches being signed. Joe Philbin went back to the Dolphins. Going down the list, the Bengals signed DT Tom Johnson and DT Andre Fluline. Scrolling down the list, the Browns signed. Now we're back into week 16 and 15. It's probably kind of gone down that too early. And now let's go take a look and sign a few more free agents. So some free agents that came to mind were the wide receivers. I needed a couple wide receivers. And I really didn't want some of the higher paid players. I wanted someone lower paid. And T.Y. Hilton was there. Percy Harvin has the speed, but I decided against him. T.Y. Hilton was an option. Michael Floyd was an option. But I really wasn't feeling any of those prospects. Scrolling down, I wanted someone on a more budget contract, because I could find people in the draft. Brian Quick was there. Josh Morgan was there. Hakeem Nicks was there, but he seemed too old. Mike Williams was there. Charles Johnson, I looked at him. Charles Johnson, I nearly put in an offer for him, but I said not to. Marvin Jones was there. Jarius Wright seemed like an interesting prospect, but I just passed on him. Miles Austin was there. Devin Hester seemed interesting. I looked at this and I realized that he could be a kick returner as well. He's 5'11", 190, and I decided to put in, take a flyer on Devin Hester and put in an offer for him. So I decided I was going to give him a $1 million contract, no guarantees though. So that was our first offer to a wide receiver. And that should all but do it for Stage 2 of the offseason. Next up is Stage 3. So off-season Stage 3 is here. Let's go take a look at the transactions. I'm going to be going through these fairly quickly as there isn't much to see here. Looking at the list, going down the list, Marvin Jones is headed to the Ravens. But other than that, there really weren't many splash signings. He went from the Bengals. Ronnie Hillman's headed to the Buccaneers, the former Brown. Chris Smith is going to the Patriots. Derek Rogers is going to the Lions. Mike McNeil, Patriots. And now we're going back to offseason Stage 2. And I just started scrolling down until he got to Brandon Mebane and then quit. So let's go take a look at the free agency pool. And first I wanted to check out the league signings. Nada's going to the Bengals. Jones is the Redskins. Michael Crabtree's a Ram. Thornton. And scrolling down the list, I'm going to point out any divisional rivals. Marvin Jones is a Raven. Scrolling down the list, Ronnie Hillman's going to the Bucs, as I said. And going down the list, there weren't many divisional signings who are division rivals signing players. They seem to be intent on using the draft, which is our strategy as well. And that was pretty much it. Brandon Mebane, we signed. Mike Tolbert, the Chargers outbid us. It seems like they really need a fullback, so I decided to withdraw my offer. It would have been a cool idea, but we don't need him anymore. The Colts outbid us for Mike DeVito, so we're going to address that by upping it to a 3-year contract. And that still didn't make us the highest bidder. So I decided to up DeVito's salary to $10 million over 3 years. We still weren't the highest paid. Donald Stevenson, the Colts, also took over us, which was kind of annoying because we were giving him more than he wanted. So Donald Stevenson, we would end up having to withdraw him since the Colts were offering too much. Tressway, the Titans were finally bidding for him. And looking at right ends, Greg Hardy was there. The Bucs were looking at him. Cam Hayward, the Niners were looking at him. And the Bills were looking at Phil Taylor, which was nice to see. Ataba Rubin was there. B.J. Raji, Clinton McDonald. And as we scroll down, we start to get into some of the 70s. So I wanted to get another defensive tackle, but I can always find one in the draft. Phil Taylor was there, but he seemed kind of hostile toward us, given how we kind of kicked him out to the curb. He's only 28, though. Phil Taylor there. I almost gave him an offer, but I decided against it. Looking at the tight end pool, I could use another good tight end. Looking at it, Ed Dixon was there. Corliss there. Humana Wanui was there. He seemed interesting. Rosario was there. Cumberland was there. Anthony McCoy was there. Bajema was there. Rob Hausler. We decided that we were going to put in an offer for him. $2 million for 1 year. And we decided to put an offer in for him because, you know, why not? We can take a flyer on him. He used to play for us. Tressway was still the only bidder, was the Titans. We already looked at tight end. Looking at the wide receiver pool, Demaryius Thomas was being looked at. Hilton was being looked at as well. Looking at Percy Harvin. Randall, I want to find another wide receiver. And Jarius Wright was now not bidded on. I decided to grab him. Looking at him, 91 speed, 81 route running, seems decent. And we decided to give him a 2-year contract at a $100,000 bonus and a $3 million contract. So $3.1 million over 2 years. $100,000 of that is guaranteed. As you can see, Jarius Wright would be number 17. And we put in the offer for him. So, Devin Hester, and so our negotiations so far Looking at the wide receiver, I realized that I never actually submitted the offer for Jarius Wright, so I had to go back and set it back up. We put in a $100,000 bonus this time instead, and a 3-year contract. And I put the salary at $2.5 million plus $100,000 bonus, so cutting the contract a little but still extending it. Mike DeVito. So now these are our negotiations so far. Mike DeVito, the Colts were still outbidding us, and a 32-year-old right end just does not seem like the future. So I decided to up his salary by $1 million. That still didn't do it. So I decided to put that offer out there and see if he accepted it'd be okay. Even if he did, it would be okay as well. Let's go do some player scouting now. So, looking at the available players, I still needed to find a right tackle, and I've scouted out most of the right tackles in this draft. Left end, I could still use anybody on the ends, anybody at the end. Scrolling down right ends, looking at Jerome Stevens, B- tackle wasn't that good. B tackle for Reggie Barr, and C+ hit power, though, is not good. Jerome Stevens, C+ hit power, too, still not good. CJ Hickman seemed interesting over there, and Follow Brian out of Miami seemed good as well. We're going to keep our eye on him. Cornerback, and never have enough good secondary players. Brendan Cates looked interesting out of OSU. Dimitri Walters out of Texas A&M was there. Demetrius Wade, I decided to quit on him. Brian Howard out of Houston. He would have been same school as Jackie Battle. Scouted out Milquan Roberts from Nebraska. Looked at Carlo Brandon there. And now I had points for one more player, and I put it into Nick Rodriguez, and he didn't exactly take my eye as well. So now we're at off-season stage, week 4, and as you can see, Jarius Wright. As you can see, those are the players who accepted their offers. Let's take a look. And as you can see, Chad Henne accepted, and Wright accepted, Hausler accepted, Hester accepted, and Chad Henne accepted. Mike DeVito declined and is probably headed to the Colts. Halfback, I can always use another halfback. Dayon McGee, and wow, for a 4th round prospect, Dayon McGee seems like a great back. Looking at right tackles, Clifton Blue out of Maine seemed like a good prospect. I decided to keep my eye on him. Looking at defensive tackles, I already looked at Tolliver out of Penn State. Now I decided to try to find a few other good defensive tackles in case Tolliver was taken before my pick. So we scrolled down the list and looked at Frank Bullock, the defensive tackle from Central Michigan. Reggie French with C+ hit power. Traylon Love was there. Marshall Farmer was there. Left outside linebacker, we looked at Stanley Cole out of Air Force. There was Malial Stevenson. Looking at right outside linebacker, we had a few options. There was Ali Huval out of Northwestern, who seemed interesting for the 4th round prospect. I decided to look at some kickers, and we looked at Josh Silva out of Miami, but Max McKay out of Buffalo appears to be the future. So I decided to look at a couple more quarterbacks. Looking at fullbacks, there was really no one here that I liked too much. Corey Lindsay out of Boston College was there. He had a B- stiff arm and B- catching, and I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him. Left guards, you can always use offensive line depth. Eckford McDonald out of Kansas. Connor Sapp was there. And I had points to scout out one more player, and those points went to Dalton Clark, who didn't exactly make me want to sign him immediately. So that's all the free agency. That we're going to have John Coons headed to Minnesota. I bet Green Bay Packers fans aren't happy about that. Looking at the signed players, Terrell Brown's a Titan. Jason DeMonchi is a Bengal. And I'm going to scroll down the list. Steelers signed Kyle Wilson. Who else is headed to a divisional rival? Chad Henne was a Brown. Scrolling down the list, Seahawks signed Lex Hilliard. Bengals signed Brandon Gibson. Steelers signed Austin Pettis. Bengals signed Kyle Wilbur. Bengals signed Donald Penn as well. They signed quite a few players. Steelers signed John Hughes. Oh, come on, John Hughes. Why'd you have to go to Pittsburgh? Ugh, that's not going to look right. Scrolling down the list, we're going to look for some more players. Andrew McDonald is headed to the Saints. Bengals signed Connor Barth. Looking down the list, Chargers signed Pierre Desir, the preseason Brown, who we ended up cutting. And John Connor is headed to the Broncos. The Ravens signed Arthur Jones. The Jaguars signed Patrick DeMarco, the fullback. Jaguars also signed Desmond Bishop. Eric Berry is headed to the Redskins. Scrolling down the list, Greg Toller's headed to the Steelers. The Browns signed Devin Hester, as we all know. The Ravens also signed Antonio Allen. And going down the list, the Bengals signed Ryan Davis. The Ravens signed somebody. The Ravens signed Tyler Lockett as well. That's another speedy weapon on the outside. They signed Ahmad Bradshaw, did the Ravens. Looking down the list, and I start to speed up here since these are some of the players you probably won't recognize as well. Steelers signed Orson Charles. Ravens signed Kendrick Ellis, and that was pretty much it. That's all for the re-signing and free agency period edits. Or not the edits, but the free agency period. Thank you all so much for watching. Next up is the draft, and goodbye.